Jason with Sweaty Hero Comic Bargains, and today we're talking about heavy hitters, Epic Comics. So, Epic Comics was in the late 80s, early 90s. It was an imprint by Marvel that was a creator owned imprint. One of the things that I always found interesting about that is that there was this creator-owned imprint at Marvel, yet Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, and all those group who created Image never considered Epic as an option. Probably because they wanted more oversight over the characters, and they want to be more independent, and they want, and but I always found that that'd be an interesting story to ask the Image creators. If anyone knows that answer, I'm guessing that they just wanted to have they felt that they didn't want to just continue to work for Marvel and have creator owned Epic and comics. Maybe there was a different deal that they felt they would have had if they were working at Epic. But anyways, in 1993, that's when they created this whole idea of heavy hitters, which is they got some different creators to do some new titles. So we got Spike here, which has a boss cover, and these number one issues had a boss covers. And this is by Mike Baron and Bill Reinhold. And the artwork is pretty cool in the story. Um, it, but and so there's this issue, there's this comic book, which very different genre. It has kind of like a idea of like a fantasy vibe, kind of like different dimensions and stuff, or something going on here, and so that's kind of interesting. This I really liked, Untamed, Heavy Hitters Untamed, and basically the way I described this story, and I like this idea of how they colored this page kind of differently, just to show us a flashback type thing. Um, but basically, this comic I would describe as kind of in the Lethal Weapon vibe. But instead, it's like these two characters. You got one on the right here, which is kind of more your kind of muscular hero character, and on the left you have a martial arts mercenary character. So it would kind of go in that buddy cop idea, buddy cop stories. But the idea of having like a martial arts cool kind of, and there's some cool action scenes and everything. But and like I like that scene. That's cool. Like I always love scenes where you have a lot of background characters. But this was a fun book where it was like I said, kind of in the vein of if you like Lethal Weapon, if you like kind of those '80s action movies, buddy cop action movies, or any action movies of the '80s, you would probably really enjoy this. Speaking of which, heavy hitters. This wasn't a heavy hitter one, but this is from 1990 Hollywood Superstars. Mark Avinger is best known for me as the writer of Gru the Wanderer, with illustrated by Sergio Arias. And even in this case, when he does a little um, sort of editorial page here, you can see that Mark Avinger gets Sergio Arias to draw his little cartoons for him. So Mark Avinger does not draw cartoons. But this book is kind of like supposed to be like kind of like inside Hollywood. So it's like that's supposed to be Mark Avinger right there talking there. And in the book says if you can read that later, the whole thing when you want to pause the video. There, I'll give you a second so you can pause the video. But basically, it's like supposed to be behind the scenes stories of what happens really in Hollywood. I'm sure they're kind of fictionalized, but in this storyline, you have basically a movie director working and a stunt worker. So the stunt worker is kind of like seeing that these stunts kill people, and the director doesn't give a damn, basically. And so it's kind of is similar in my mind to like the Fall Guy, if you know the Fall Guy, which was about a guy who was a stunt worker and also a bounty hunter. In this case, this stunt worker is he's also kind of like a private eye in Hollywood things, and it's kind of done not as a comedy, but also not I wouldn't call it R rated either. It's just but it would have made a good procedural show in the '80s, I think, or early '90s. If you did like a show where it was set in Hollywood and with murder with mysteries and private eye stuff, and Not noir, but like in kind of like a just a kind of like I said, a police a mystery procedural way. It's kind of interesting. I liked it. Saxon Violence is drawn by George Perez, and this was really cool and really good. Obviously, with a title like that, you're expecting it to be mature readers. This issue takes place during New Orleans Mardi Gras, so I don't want to really show you pictures from it. But the story was actually pretty cool and pretty good. I mean, yes, they are kind of like it's a bad girl vigilante and a bad guy vigilante. I mean, by bad guy, I don't mean bad guy. I mean like an anti-hero. So it is kind of like like kind of taking the anti-hero tropes and kind of putting them on their head, but it kind of does it with an interesting style and story. So yeah, they're kind of like there's an adventure, there's action, but George Perez is a great artist, and he's doing some interesting ideas with some new characters here. And then I have some Marvel books that I have read. So Thunderstrike, I really like Thunderstrike, which is a Thor spinoff, and Tom DeFalco and Ron Friends, who have done Amazing Spider-Man in the past. This is a lot of fun. And it has a backup feature, in this case, with one of the Warriors 3. Drawn by Pat Olive, best known for me as the guy who drew Untold Tales of Spider-Man. Um, but I like his art, and it's a cool book. And then Us One is based on, really believe it or not, that truck was a toy, and they made a comic book based on a toy. And this guy has a CB radio in his head. I'm not kidding. And it goes nuts. And in this case, there's the Highwayman, which is kind of cool. So it's kind of riffing on kind of like the movie Duel with by Spielberg with the truck that was kind of in a race in the desert with another person. All those movies like kind of like Smokey and the Bandit, but then doing like a sci-fi twist because there's aliens in this for some reason. I don't know. It's just ridiculous, but worth reading just to see how ridiculous Marvel can get with trying to create toy commercial tie-ins. And then we have an issue of War Machine here, and then as I've said before, in our reviews, Marvel Comics Presents is pretty cool, and this is a flip book. Marvel 2 and 1, and then we have an issue of Spider-Man 2099, a more recent one, one of the miniseries, and then Venom number 34, Legacy number 234 from the Blood Hunt crossover. That's it for today, and thank you for watching Sweaty Hero Comic Bargains.